We are back with the 2021 Tesla Model Y standard range rear-wheel drive, and you might notice that there are some different wheels and tires on this. Charlie from Daily Motor, this is his personal vehicle, he went out and picked up a set of 18-inch Tesla Model 3 wheels and put a set of Continental DWS 06
ExtremeContact DWS 06 Plus.
Okay, I had an older version of these tires, and they were really nice all season. They did well in the snow, well in the rain, and they had a good amount of mechanical grip. These are 235/55 18s. The standard tire and wheel size for the Tesla Model Y is 255/45 19. So we've got more sidewall, hashtag save the sidewall, a smaller wheel, and a slightly narrower tire. Charlie's already done a couple of range tests on these two tire options, and between 18s and 19s, it's kind of a wash, which is a surprise to me. I would have thought the 18s would have been more efficient.
Yeah, you brought up doing these tires back a while back, and you're like, maybe we'll get a little bit of range, and I thought so as well, but not the case.
Interesting. Well, let's see how they drive. I'm curious to get behind the wheel and see what it feels like. I know in Michigan we love a slightly taller sidewall. We've got so many potholes. We're going to throw the 19s on here after we go for a drive in these and do a comparison. All right, let's hop in. It's been a while since I've driven this Model Y. You've got probably, what, about 15,000 miles on this already?
Right on, 15,000.
Excellent.
As of 2 days ago.
We're going to switch to my profile, TheTopher. Oh, and it looks like these tires don't have TPMS installed.
No, so I was thinking I'll get myself a pair of Model 3 wheels. It'll have the TPMS all ready to go. It'll be great. Unfortunately, they went to a different TPMS sensor for the Model Y, so you cannot go direct swap. I should have, if I had known that, I would have had the other TPMS sensors put in when the tires were installed, or TBD on what we'll do with that.
Interesting. Well, top tip for people looking to do this. Another thing, another note that's important with these 18-inch wheels is the normal Tesla Model Y is too heavy according to the load ratings for the wheels for this 18-inch setup. But this standard range rear-wheel drive model is lighter because it doesn't have the front motor, and the load rating is acceptable.
Correct. Yeah. We're lighter than some Model 3s actually with this car.
Yeah, that's awesome. Does it feel any faster? Do you think these wheels are slightly lighter? They might be a lighter setup. We need to weigh them.
Yep, we need to weigh them, and I am going to do an acceleration test between the two of them. Interestingly, between the ExtremeContacts and the stock Pro Contacts 19 and 19, there was no difference in acceleration.
Okay.
But maybe there will be with these.
I like the steering on these 18s. It's not as immediate, not as direct, maybe. Sometimes Tesla steering can be overly direct. They're really quiet. Kind of makes a really nice all-season tire.
And it's surprising because the stock tire actually has foam inside of it, so the Continental rep thought these tires would be louder. I found the opposite. Both 18s and 19s, these were a little quieter.
Yeah. This feels great. Ride quality's definitely improved over, you know, more bumpy road surfaces. It kind of smooths out a lot of those smaller impacts. Feels great. There's all the Ford Broncos waiting for their chips. I'm going to do a quick little 0 to 60 here. This Model Y is still fun to drive. Yeah, pretty noticeable difference in ride quality. There's no immediate jarring impacts over bumps. Like, I'm not cringing every time I hit one of these massive expansion joints in the pavement.
You can actually just loop yourself right. You could go all the way to the dead end if you want, or you can take this, but you won't be able to get back on the other road.
It's okay, we'll just hit some corners. here.
Yep.
Yeah, this feels good. I mean, it's not a huge difference, but it's about what you would expect going from a 19-inch larger wheel to an 18. And the overall diameter of the tire is about the same. You think we'll make it?
Yep, you got your
little... Oh yeah, there we go. It even gives you inches.
Every inch counts.
It's true. So we're not gaining any ground clearance.
On top of the improved ride quality, there is that mental aspect as well of just knowing you have more squish between the tire and the wheel. So if when you do hit one of those bad Michigan potholes, you feel a little bit better. You're not Civic Type R levels of
absolutely.
Did I break my wheel?
No, it is nice to have that extra confidence and just comfort. Is the speedometer in this GPS based or like wheel sensor based?
It's wheel speed sensor based.
Yeah, I think the biggest improvement here is just ride quality. You can really feel on those little road imperfections, the primary ride is much improved.
Yeah, it's still damped pretty aggressively. I mean, it's the rebound's still very quick. You still kind of get that quick response over large bumps, as we'll kind of see some of the ones over here, but it's those little road imperfections that just make your day and make your daily drive seem just that much more enjoyable.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I don't know if you've driven this since I adjusted the rear hatch.
I don't know if I have. It was getting pretty rattly back there, but this is better.
Yeah, there was just a boominess to it that you see similar things with most liftbacks, like Kia Stinger. We had those problems as well, but there's little adjustments, and you can tweak them just enough so that you can't pull out a piece of paper under any of the four things. You just set an envelope in there, and then as you shut it, if you can pull the envelope out, you need to tighten the nub.
Nice.
And now there's not quite as much boominess and echo over the bumps.
Yeah, it just kind of distributes the load with the tailgate evenly. That's great. This is such a fun Tesla. Have you found that any cons to the amount of range that you've gotten out of this? Any situations where you've been in where it's just a little bit more convenient, maybe you wish you got the long range?
The biggest con is just having to almost not trust the car with how much range there is, because you see right here it says 171 miles. That's not 171 miles. That might be 171 in mixed city driving, averaging about 40 miles per hour. But you get on the highway, and that's not going to adjust the way it would in another EV. It's a best case scenario number.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, super predictable. I love the way this drives. Maybe not as much mechanical grip outright, but pretty good.
And then cold weather is also a consideration. You just lose maybe another 10 to 20% of your range in the cold, and once you kind of tack all that on, I mean, the other thing is we lost 5 to 10% of highway range going from the stock Pro Contact tires to these ultra high performance Extreme Contact tires, and that's what Continental expected. They said you'll probably see in our internal testing we saw about 5 to 8% range drop, and that's what we saw as well.
And this isn't an eco-focused tire; it's a more performance-oriented tire. It's got a slightly softer tread compound, and so it can bite in the winter and really grab around corners in the dry.
Yep. You kind of have two choices when it comes to a rear-wheel drive car. You pretty much, are you going to try to run decent, good all seasons all year, or are you going to go summer tires and winter tires? And so we're going to give these ultra high performance summer tires, these Extreme Contacts, a shot at being our all-year tire. And if Michigan's winter is a little tame like it was last year, I think we'll be totally fine.
Yeah, and you have to factor into account when you think about this as a rear-wheel drive car, it's a rear-wheel drive car with incredible weight distribution. So it's not a front-engine rear-wheel drive car, it's a battery pack rear-wheel drive car. So you're going to have more weight over those rear wheels than you would in a traditional front-engine rear-wheel drive setup.
And you've got your very direct electronic stability control, because it can cut the power very quickly. It doesn't have to cut fuel or timing or anything like that, or ignition. But that's not going to necessarily save you when you're trying to brake or when you're trying to steer.
And over the winter, you did pretty well on this car on just the standard tires, which I was very surprised with. I didn't expect this to not get stuck as little as it did. I mean, you struggled a little bit on dirt roads, up hills from a stop. If you maintain your momentum in this car, you get through just about anything over the winter. And that was on 255s, and ideally these 235s should cut through snow a little bit better, and the improved tread compound will help.
Absolutely.
I just love how balanced this Model Y standard range is. The power level is perfect. You get the satisfaction of flooring it without having to just, you know, get sick every time you get into the throttle.
That's what I was going to say. Keep your lunch down.
Yeah, exactly.
No, and Alyssa, who daily drives this, she loves screwing around on the highway with Mustangs, and she'll come home and tell me about some Porsche that she raced on an on-ramp. Like, I'm sure he was racing you, honey, but she wins because you got 5.3 seconds 0 to 60.
Yeah, that's great. And the responsiveness is hard to beat.
Yeah, it's true.
All right, so let's throw the 19-inch wheels on. Those are going to be 255 45 19s. Exact same tire. Exact same Continental DWS 06 plus ExtremeContact. Somewhere in there.
Let's go quick check.
All right.
Keep going. Stop.
Cool. All right, so we're going to jack this up using the quick jack. Probably one of the best solutions to lift up your Tesla Model Y or any Tesla, just because it can mount on all 4 points at once and lift from there. Someone in the comments in our last video did suggest that we get the Tesla jack adapters or something. But,
yeah, there are some little specific Tesla point jacks you can use, but we have found that using these blocks, it doesn't hit any of the metal or the plastic. I mean, it hits the metal that you're supposed to.
Sure.
The jack point is fine.
Cool. How's the quick jack been for you? Because you've been using it more than I have. Any leaks, any issues?
No, the only issue I had once was I didn't realize you were supposed to undo this leak valve.
Oh, yeah.
Bleeder valve. And so the case kind of compressed as I was jacking up.
Okay.
If you don't have it set up already, as we do, almost takes as much time as just dragging the jack around each
Sure,
corner.
sure.
But for something like this where we already had it ready to go, and what we might do is leave it kind of as a two-post lift would be, kind of on the side of the garage, and in that case it'd be quicker.
Cool. And I think it's a little bit safer than if you need to get all 4 wheels off the ground. It's much safer than going corner to corner or side to side and balancing on jack stands and you know.
Yeah, if you do need to get all 4, it's definitely quicker. It's something like a tire rotation,
brake bleed,
or if you have 2 people working on the car at once.
That's right.
But if we were just changing your front brakes, like you could just jack up in the corner, do it.
Sure.
So different tools for different uses.
Yep. So here's a shot of brake caliper clearance. It's pretty close, but it works. You don't want to have your wheel weights mounted on that section of the rim for sure. Something to note. So it looks like no rubbing on the caliper or anything from the 18-inch wheels, which is good.
And then you can see the metal parts kind of slide themselves right up and in.
Yeah, maybe that's what they were talking about. Cool, that was easy. All right, we've got everything mounted up and torqued down. Got these 19-inch wheels on here. These are 255 45 R19 tires. Exact same Continental ExtremeContact DWS 06 plus. I got that all in one, didn't I?
Yeah.
All right. You notice we have a slightly wider offset on these wheels. Maybe a slightly wider wheel too. With the wheel covers off, this looks pretty good, but I think honestly, I kind of like the look of the 18s on this Model Y. What do you think?
Looks a little gnarlier. It looks this makes it look a little more street car-ish, whereas a thicker sidewall makes it look like an SUV.
It's true, it's true. All you need is a lift kit, and we can take this thing off-road, do some rallying.
Let's do it.
All right, let's head out on the road, see what this is like from behind the wheel. Another note, you got some, what are these floor mats? These are really beefy looking floor mats.
From a brand called Bouge RV.
Cool, yeah. You said you spilled a bunch of chocolate milk in the back a couple weeks ago and they just soaked them all up.
Yeah, it's just got the big deep veins. We're looking forward to in the winter when it's all slushy and gross, just soaking it all up.
That's awesome. Yeah, because normally you just have the standard cloth mats.
Yep.
So we've driven this Model Y plenty on 19-inch wheels with the standard tires, but these Continentals are, I'd say, probably a little bit grippier than those standard tires are.
When we tested 19 to 19s, the OE tires to these tires, we noticed very little difference in actual drivability. In fact, it was slightly less apples to apples because the OE tires had 13,000 miles on them. These were brand new.
That's right.
So these felt a little bit squirrelier, just a tiny bit more squish, probably because, you know, brand new, fresh, grippy rubber.
A lot of tread.
Yep, a lot of tread left. But no, I definitely think we'll notice a difference here going 18s to 19s.
I do like these tires. They feel really good on this Model Y. The steering feels different. You can feel the squareness of the sidewall versus the roundness of the sidewall on the 18s. I mean, still just a very planted setup. It never gets old driving these Teslas. They're so much fun. We drive a lot of electric cars, and I hate to say it, but nothing really comes close to the experience and the overall just living with these cars. All right, a little bit more cabin intrusion over these bumps. I'm not sure if ride quality is that different. Of course, we're not measuring it, but I feel like I'm hearing a little bit more NVH over rough pavement. And the steering feel is definitely different from 19s to 18s. A little bit less body roll. And of course you've got a wider contact patch. It's kind of down to personal preference. I've always liked a narrower tire with a taller sidewall. I just kind of like the way it drives. It makes the car feel a little bit lighter on its feet, a little bit more nimble, though maybe you do get less mechanical grip. So you've put about 500 miles on this setup, the 19s, and about 1,000 miles on the 18s. What are some of your thoughts after living with it for a little bit longer?
They definitely echo yours. I prefer the little bit lighter, more casual steering feel of the 18s. It's just a little bit lighter in your fingers, and this has a heavy steering to begin with, even, and it has 3 different steering weights.
Especially on center.
Power steering, but this is the lightest one, and it's still fairly heavy. I think we both talked about the fact that there's no front drive motor seems to affect that a little bit compared to the all-wheel drive version of this car. So I prefer that a little. When it comes to the actual driving dynamics, I kind of like the snappier, more go-karty feel of these 19s, and as you put it well, that it feels more squared. So like you'll probably take this corner right here, and there's more immediacy to like kind of, it just sits so flat.
It's a lot flatter. There's less body roll for sure.
Yeah. So if I lived in California, Montana, North Dakota, something like that with great smooth roads, I'd obviously take the 19s. You can tell that's where the car was developed. But for Michigan, daily driving, going over our potholes, going over railroad tracks and daily driving, the mixture of the lighter steering weight and the sort of bump soaking, if you will.
Yeah, the bump absorption is really nice on the 18s.
We're probably going to stick with the 18s because of that. If we were to own the car long term and we weren't doing sort of these experiments, what I'd probably do is a very eco-focused summer tire on the 19s and then a winter tire on the 18s, and probably just leave it at that.
Yeah, that'd be a good way to go. I'm still surprised that the range and efficiency is about the same on both. Yeah,
well, the engineers said that's because even though you are minimizing the contact patch a bit horizontally, you're making up for that contact patch longitudinally.
Sure, because of the extra sidewall.
Yeah.
And the squish.
Yep. So there's still the same amount of tire still has to contact the road.
Yep. Interesting. And I guess there's maybe a minute difference in aerodynamics, just that thinner tire profile, but still, yeah.
And what they point out is even though you might lose, say, 5% of range with these more ultra high performance all seasons versus an eco-focused tire, you've got such a variance in range in your daily driving anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, you need to be careful. You could lose 10% of your range just because of a headwind if you're going to a certain destination, or because it's 95 degrees out instead of 80 degrees, or 20 degrees instead of 40 degrees, or you draft more, or you go a little faster. So there's so many variances that, yeah, you don't really want to give up any range for a car like this, but at the same time, how often are you really going from 100% charge to 0 charge?
Yeah, exactly.
The other
You're charging up every night in your garage and starting with a full battery.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the math we looked at is, say you do really have a worst case, 10% loss in range for a road trip. That means when you get to the charger, if you originally had to charge for 20 minutes, you're going to be charging for 22 minutes.
Yep.
So you're giving up 2 minutes of your life in exchange for better performance, better rain stopping performance, turning, things like that.
You just get to watch that extra 2 minutes of your Netflix show,
Exactly.
which is 23 minutes long anyway, right?
Right, so you're going to be sitting anyway.
Got all the rubber on this roundabout.
Yeah.
Perfect. It's like a prepped surface.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not sure mechanical grip is any different from the 18s to the 19s. I prefer the way the 18s drive just because that's me and I always like skinny tires, but yeah, it's kind of a wash depending on it depends on where you live. If you have a lot of potholes and you want that extra added bit of security, because the Model Y doesn't have a spare tire, does it?
No, it does not.
Yeah, so,
Yep.
you know.
Yeah, the other thing that we haven't mentioned is generally the cost of an 18-inch tire is going to be significantly cheaper than a 19.
That's a great point. There's definitely a noticeable weight difference between the two setups. I just noticed that when we were mounting and dismounting the wheels and tires. Just from feel, we need to actually get a scale and measure what they are exactly, but it's probably about 5 pounds or so, maybe a little bit less, but it seems about right. The larger 19-inch wheels are heavier, and maybe there's a little bit more reinforcement too to the construction of the tire, and the tire's slightly heavier too. I don't know, that might be a wash, but
we'll have one follow-up video probably a few weeks after this video comes out with a few more metrics. We'll weigh both wheels and tires, and we'll do an acceleration test with both, and kind of a lot of these similar thoughts, honestly, in a Daily Motor video. So you can throw that in the link or something.
Yeah.
Check that out on Daily Motor.
Follow Charlie on Daily Motor. He's always coming up with new Tesla test videos. Tesla tire tests.
Tesla tire TTT.
So, cool. All right, well, hopefully that gave you guys some information on what it's like going from 19-inch wheels and tires to 18s on a Tesla Model Y. A little bit of a difference from the seat of the pants, but as far as the numbers go, in reality, less of a change than I would have expected and anticipated. Maybe that's down to the same tire. We're not going from, like, you know, standard tires to super sticky tires, or sticky tires to eco-focused tires. It's the same compound, same rubber, just in a different profile and size. So there you go. Good stuff. I'm glad you got the 18s. It's a cool look. They just fit and look proper. And for Michigan, I think it's kind of the way to go, especially on the Model Y standard range rear-wheel drive, which is the lightest Model Y there is.
The other thing is, a lot of your viewers might be interested in picking up aftermarket wheels as well. That's
Absolutely.
An option we haven't even explored, and you could easily get some very lightweight 18-inch wheels. You get the better ride quality, less rolling weight, less unsprung weight.
Yep.
Maybe that's the ticket. So it's just cool to know you can do it, and you will notice a bit of a difference in drivability. Yeah,
and even I'm sure there are much lighter weight wheels out there than these standard OEM Tesla wheels.
Yes.
For the autocrossers and the people who are driving enthusiasts, I'm sure Tire Rack is a great way to see what 18s and 19s are available for these cars, because they actually measure brake caliper dimensions, and they have 3D models that they factor in with their wheel dimensions and make sure that everything on their site can fit. So this was a little bit of a risk. We Googled and we found one place that actually the wheels will mount up. Some people didn't recommend it because the dual motor Tesla Model Ys are too heavy for the load rating of the wheel, but this Model Y, since it's about 400 pounds lighter than the dual motor, is just fine.
Yep.
No issues.
Load rating on these tires are 101
as
opposed to 104.
Interesting.
Yep.
I'm talking about wheel load rating.
Oh, yeah.
So,
no idea about the wheels.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Check out Charlie's channel, Daily Motor, for more on this Tesla Model Y. stay tuned for some updates on this whole situation here that we've got going on. Very fun.
Neat.
All right, good.
Get the AC going in here.
Yeah.
Don't need to do that though.
Now, while we're filming all of our personal cars, I need to get some videos on this old Volvo here. This is the only thing that's keeping me from buying anything new and modern and fast. Just, I can't let it go. It's so hard. All right.